There's a few reasons why I'd buy a new mouse these days. Either it looks cool, it has a different shape to the rest of my collection, or it is somehow trying to offer a different or unique experience. The G Wolves HTS Ultra has hit all of those checkpoints for me over the last few weeks of use. It's been a blast to use, and I want to tell you about my experience with it. Use the timestamps to skip around and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff like this in the future. This product was sent to me, and I am affiliated with G Wolves, and my code will be on screen now if you want to go ahead and purchase a G Wolves product. But please don't interpret this video as me trying to capitalize on sales. I'm really just trying to give you some insight into these products, and it helps me out not having to buy them if G Wolves send them to me. Firstly, I want to offer up front what makes this mouse unique, and without a doubt, this is crafted with the essence of G Wolves. It has all the usual flair to the shape, the deep hips, a steep flare on the sides of the mouse, nice functional button bumpers, and lots of different anchor points for finger placements in various positions on the shell of the mouse. And of course, it weighs less than 30 grams, which for a mouse of its size is wild. Initially, I thought this might be too light for a claw grip focused mouse, but I got used to the weight over the course of a few days, and after a week of use, it has been difficult to make myself play with anything else. The lightweight nature of this mouse, I feel, makes it perfect for games with constant, non-stop, high-intensity aiming requirements, like aim trainers and things like Marvel Rivals or Overwatch 2, because the mouse is very comfortable to use for prolonged periods of time. It doesn't cause any stress on your hands due to its light weight, but it does require a very skilled player to get the most from it. And my good friend, That Good Sir, described glass pads recently in one of his videos as an aim amplifying tool. The same is true, I feel, for this mouse. And if you're playing well or if you're playing poorly, the mouse will amplify your performance, either good or bad, above and beyond what a more traditional mouse would do. I find that in high intensity moments while using the HTS Ultra, I tend to overreact or overcorrect in my aim. And if I'm not fully locked in while using this mouse, I'll shoot past the target due to its lightness. Whereas if I'm using a heavier mouse, I get a more consistently measured response, because by comparison, using a 60-gram mouse is like aiming with stabilizers on. If you're a calm aimer and a calm gamer, or you want to experience raw aim on a cloth pad, this mouse could be a real blast for you to use. Some areas that I feel are impacted the most by the lightness of this mouse is smooth tracking and basically your flick shots. And I'll show you side-by-side comparison now as a demonstration as to what I mean. We have the HTS Ultra footage on the left and the Zowie EC1 footage on the right, and there's a circa 50-gram difference between these mice. And you can see that in the HTS Ultra footage, my smoothness is not very good. I'm skipping around and I'm struggling to remain on the target. However, I'm very quick to correct. Whereas on the right, although my smoothness isn't perfect, it is much smoother than it is on the left. I'm more consistently on the target and my smoothness is generally better. So in this example, the heavier mouse performs better. Whereas when we look at the Tile Frenzy demonstration, the speed at which I can maneuver the HTS Ultra is a lot more rapid and instantaneous than it is on the EC1 due to its light weight. With the HTS Ultra, I can change direction on a dime with no stress to my hands through prolonged use, whereas with the EC1 and its heavier, bulkier size, I do start to fatigue quite quickly by comparison, and it's not quite as easy to whip around as the HTS Ultra is. So in summary, the HTS Ultra feels like a really reactive, snappy product, but at my skill level, it can suffer with the higher time to kill scenarios and games as described earlier in the video. You don't get the same aiming with your eyes sensation as you do with a very light fingertip focused mouse, and I think that's because your palm makes a lot of contact with this mouse or your hand, and therefore your palm isn't quite as maneuverable subconsciously as your fingertips are, so it kind of takes you out of that aiming with your eyes sensation. But it is as close as I've gotten to that feeling while using a claw grip mouse. It feels unique to play with, and at the moment I can't put it down. G Wolves always knock it out of the park with the colours on their products too. They were kind enough to send me the transparent purple option, which I love. Thank you for that, G Wolves. As you can see though, I've had to use grip tape on my unit because although the mouse is full of honeycomb shapes which are intended to help you grip the mouse, I don't actually find it comfortable to use the mouse without the grip tape installed. I've thrown the whole pre-cut pack on my mouse because it fits really nicely, and the grip tape for this mouse works really well in my opinion. For the main buttons and the side of the mouse, each section of that grip tape is split into two pieces, which is quite clever. It allows you to fit tape to the area that you grip. So if you only grip the front of the mouse, you can apply the front pieces of the tape pack and so on. I've applied the whole thing because I don't mind the extra weight of the tape for the additional comfort that I feel it provides. I have covered the unboxing already, which I'll link in the description of this video. You get an ungodly amount of stuff in the box. Honestly, I'd love it if G Wolves would tone this down a bit. I personally don't need 2 gaming sleeves with every G Wolves mouse that I own, or a load of clay, a magnet, or postcards. You know, maybe some of you enjoy this unboxing experience, but personally I'd rather they give us a minimal unboxing experience and reduce the cost of their products. I think that would net them more sales too. In terms of the button implementation, it's genuinely very good. Mouse 1 and 2 are Hawano pink dot switches. They're very tactile and responsive, and in my opinion this implementation is only second to the Vaxi NP01S. The HTS Ultra feels very well dialed in, and I think button implementation is such a massive part of what makes a mouse fun and enjoyable to use. It's great to see G Wolves continuing to put the work in with this specific aspect of their mice. The side buttons feel nice too. I have no complaints at all here. Very tactile, very clicky, very limited pre and post travel in those buttons. The scroll wheel is also fantastic, but I do have to note that I have an unreplicatable, is that a word? Unreplicatable squeak in the scroll wheel. Sometimes it does it, other times it doesn't, and it's not an issue, I don't think, but it is noticeable when it happens. It works perfectly other than the occasional squeak. Nicely defined, nice and tactile in the clicks. I cover it in all of my G Wolves reviews, but the sensor placement is further forward on the HTS Ultra than it is on most products in my collection, and this results in a faster and snappier feeling in game, and I enjoy it a lot. A very quick explanation of why this makes a difference is because the front of the mouse being further away from the wrist and arm means it moves more with the same amount of movement as the back of the mouse does. You know, small changes in sensor placement on a product can make a big difference to how they feel to use, and I like this sensor position quite a lot. In terms of the shape and style of this mouse, it's the tallest G Wolves mouse that I've owned. I find it presses up into my palm in use, and if I use it like a traditional claw mouse, which this is what it's designed for, that's kind of the experience that you get from it. Nice palm, inner palm sort of presence. However, to be different, as always, I tend to push it further forwards in my grip, and I rest my knuckles on the top back side of the hump. I can do this because of the height of the hump, and this was something I tried to do with the HTX Mini, but the hump on that mouse is too low for that to be viable for me personally and my big spider hands. So this approach to my grip pushes the sensor even closer to my fingertips, which again I enjoy, and allows me to have a very dynamic grip with this extremely lightweight mouse. Most of my playtime has been spent with the mouse in this position in my hand, and it's been such a blast to use like this. While it is a tall mouse, it is quite short compared to something like the XM2, so the high hump fills my hand in the places that I want to have contact, and the shorter length means it works well for those fast-paced vertical aiming requirements. The click height on the HTS Ultra is quite high. It isn't as exaggerated as my HTX Mini, and it's also higher than the XM2, which is another popular mouse. So this is something you might not expect from a G Wolves mouse, but for the height of the hump, you know, and the mouse more generally, the click height feels appropriate to me. The software for this mouse is also great. It's just a website you go to, you plug in your mouse, you change the settings, close the browser, and it's done. There's no bloatware with the G Wolves mouse these days, and I love it. In conclusion, I think G Wolves have really done well with this release. I struggle to commit to it being my new main mouse because I know I generally prefer other shapes, but I'm enjoying it so much that I don't want to use anything else at the moment, and that's after about 5 weeks of use. Another thing I want to touch on is the raw excitement I can feel relating to the circa 20 grams releases coming to their specific fingertip range. There's a symmetrical HSK Pro revision coming in at about 20 grams and an asymmetrical option at 22 grams, and the amount of messages I've received asking if I'm going to cover these has blown me away, and I hope to cover both of them and show you what they're capable of on the channel. And that wraps up the main review element of this video now, so let's get into the aim trainer. See if we can hit some shots then, shall we? Let's go Volt and Mastiff. That's a pretty good setup right there. Yep, in the up. Where are we going then, fellas? Where are we going? No. That felt bad. Tried to stick them. Not doing really badly, but not doing as well as I could be either. Shotguns are so strong this season. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. That was wild. Let's give the old Vantage a boot. I punched him. Level 499 Vantage. Right, there we are. I think that concludes our gameplay for this video. Quite enjoyed it. I really enjoy this mouse. Even if I'm not always very consistent on it in my gunfights, I still very much enjoy it. Thank you for watching. I hope you got some value out of this video. Alright, bye bye now.